Hi again, everyone. After a longer hiatus, I am back. And, well, as for what happened, I used to travel a lot more than I did during the COVID years, and now some of that travel is coming back again. So I have been in China for the past week and a half, but that was a week ago. It took me quite a while to recover from that ordeal, and not that being in China itself is an ordeal. It's not always easy, but it wasn't that hard for me. It's more that the lengthy travel to get there and back takes a lot out of me. So I may need to have a conversation with work at some point about whether or not I can do that again in the future. But I wanted to share a couple of thoughts about that travel, um, just as I'm not an SI lead, so I'm not all about ingesting and remembering all of the details, but I come back from these travels with impressions and then sort of need to process or think about them, and then maybe something comes up that makes sense. So I thought I'd share a little bit about where I was, but it's going to be very select little slivers that seem to me to be important as opposed to just the regular work stuff that I do at work, which is, I went here, I did that. I went there, I did this. That's not very interesting. So I have a habit of arriving a few days early, if I can do it at all, for these long trips into Asia because I live literally halfway around the world. So it can take 24 to 30 plus hours to go door to door from where I'm coming from to where I'm going to. And because of that, I like to try and arrive on a Friday night or a Saturday morning and then have the weekend to try and adjust to the local time. So that's what I did. And as I got adjusted to the local time, I needed to do something to keep myself occupied and stay awake. And so I went for a walk because I like going for walks. And this was in Beijing. And I did not realize that there's quite a lot of security. So I did bring my passport, but there was the necessary, the need to show it about every block or two in the areas that I was going, some of the most secure areas in the city, because I wanted to get to Zhongshan Park, which is opposite Tiananmen Square. It's quite beautiful. And if you ever do get the chance, if you find yourself in Beijing by the off chance, and you have a chance to go to Zhongshan Park, please do go. If you can walk it, if you can bear the constantly being stopped and asked to present ID and so forth, it is well worth it. There's surrounding it's basically a walled city within the city and an arboretum that's a park that's within the walled city. So lining the outside walls of that place are alternating. I'm not sure what one side are, but the others are magnolia trees, and they were all in full fruit this time of year. So it was encouraging to see and recognize the familiar species, the magnolias that we see back home where I live as well, here in the leafy suburbs of the Northeast. And as I got into the park, which was an entire 3 renminbi, which is about 40 cents US, give or take, it is, well, I'd say it's breathtaking. It's really nice. And it gives a chance to see sort of an idyllic arboretum of how things could look if we were a more, say, park-oriented or wilderness preservation-oriented species, which, well, we've got mixed success. So at that point, I was already exhausted, like I am this evening, but I managed to find a park bench overlooking a canal, and maybe it was a lake, a canal-ish shaped lake, and managed to think tired thoughts for a while trying to stay awake. The tired thoughts being about that I've been in the business that I'm in for 35 years or so. And even on a gorgeous day, gorgeous early fall day, with a clear blue sky, having traveled halfway around the world, it's tiring. It's I just felt the weariness in my bones in a way that I typically overlook or may have not at other times. But be that as it may, one of the high points for me was that I bumped into a dragonfly, of all things. I mean, it's not unusual in a park to see a dragonfly, but the thing about dragonflies is where you see dragonflies, there are usually also signs of dragons, because horseflies, you see horses, and with houseflies, there are definitely houses. So if you see a dragonfly, you know that there's going to be a dragon somewhere close by. And being in China, knowing that there is a dragon close by is actually rather, again, uplifting and positive thing to think about. So that was Beijing, and many other things happened, but the park bench, listening to the birds, watching my dragonfly, it wasn't mine, but watching the dragonfly, it was a moment, a worthwhile moment. Now we have to skip forward to a bunch of things that happened that I'm not going to talk about, but it's all fine. It's just business. Then I ended up, toward the north, close to the Great Wall, and then flew south to Shenzhen. And who knew that at the end of the final day, when I was walking out of the final office building, the office campus had a park that was attached to it, which had kind of a swampy, low-lying lake pondy area surrounded by grass and Phragmites. And who knew that what seemed to be exactly the same species of dragonfly that I'd seen in Beijing, I'd also encounter here in Shenzhen at the end of my very final meeting at the last day, the day before I would get on a plane and come back home. So it was, again, an encouraging sign that where there are dragonflies, there are dragons. And just happy to know that there are certain things that there's certain magic that's still going to be in the air, regardless of how much we build or pave things over. As I guess a final thought, I have to say that the Chinese people, by and large, are some really wonderful folks. And yes, there is propaganda on both sides to try and show the best of what there is of China and showcase the worst of what there is of China, including at times, the misbehavior of Chinese people abroad or even at home. But it's not my experience. The experiences that I've had in China is that the one thing that would keep me coming back is the integrity of many of the people there. Like elsewhere in the world, most folks are just trying to get by. They're just trying to live their lives. And so I was happy to go. I'm happy to come back. And I know this is a segue from my regular trying to offer any sort of deeper insights, but I just wanted to let you know a little slice of life, such as I could offer. And I hope that, your little slices of life in these past weeks where I've been out of touch have had similarly positive moments in them somewhere. So thanks for listening.